Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next one comes from Pamperjack. Get that right. In response to common problems with the Roland JX-8P, video I did in June 2021. And Pamperjack writes, thanks for the useful info here. If I could be so bold and add my 2 cents worth. The big issue with the JX-8P is the LHM switch on the backside, near the audio outputs. It is the 8P's Achilles heel. Many of them have been sold as not working, when in fact they only need some contact cleaner on the LMH. Now LMH is low, medium, high, so effectively it drops the output of the synth down by so many dB by going low, or increases it by going from low to medium to high, or high to medium low, if you get the drift. The other biggie is pretty much the universal across all of them, and that is aftertouch, in terms of the aftertouch strip failing. This doesn't stop you using the synth, but prevents you from using the aftertouch functionality, which really adds another dimension to this keyboard. And then there's a big smiley face. So, first of all, I never have any problems with people leaving comments, especially comments like this that add to the overall info that was being pushed across for this particular synthesizer. So, what I would say is the work I undertook on the Roland JX-3P, I haven't done very much in terms of work on a JX-8P because the 8P I had was not mine. And the Roland MKS20 was another keyboard that has an LMH switch. This is a really common problem across wherever Roland used this particular switch. And, you know, contact cleaner is one thing. Contact cleaner is great, but you've got to remember that when you use contact cleaner, what you're effectively doing is dissolving the grease that's on the contact. So eventually you start having metal rub metal, and if you don't do it properly, and doing it properly means actually take it to piece and put proper grease back in there, you will end up wearing the switch out. So contact cleaner is wonderful, but you can only use contact cleaner so many times. Also thanks for the information on the afterstart strip. It was interesting to hear that many other commentators haven't raised that issue, and I did quite a lot of research on the internet looking for common failure points of the 8P, and talking to the guy who owned the 8P as well to understand what stuff he had to do. So thank you very much for the info. Next comment or question comes from long-time commentator MIDI Moog, and this one is in response to Espen Kraft's video blows up, an SMR I did in October 2024. And MIDI Moog writes, for clarification, Behringer uses ARM chips to emulate digital synths, but uses analog electronic components to simulate analog synths? No. Behringer's UB-XA is a fully analog synthesizer with 16 notes of polyphony, but is still an affordable price tag. That's the proof that supports Espen's claim that analog synths don't need to be super expensive. The kind like the UB-XA are just borrowing a brand and image and expensiveness of the original vintage synthesizers to be able to sell at an extortionate high price, which is why Espen calls it a scam. Personally, I like to simplify things. The synths that are affordable for me are those good synths and not the ones that are out of reach. Now I do find it interesting that, you know, MIDI Moog and myself have two different interpretations of the statements that have been put out by Behringer. Now my understanding is that Behringer spent the money developing this ARM technology so they could accurately model both analog and digital synthesizers. Now you've got a bunch of digital synthesizers also in the works that are apparently using the same ARM modeling technology. Yes, there may be physical components in the signal path, but the way the synth functions and generates sounds is mainly done in the modeling of the original synth. That's my understanding. Now, another reason I have this view is that Behringer have issued effectively a number of statements over the last couple of years, predominantly through their social channels. So either Behringer on Instagram, Behringer on Threads, Behringer on Behringer on Facebook, that have basically stated one way or the other that that's what they have been doing. That's kind of why I've made the statements I have made, which is that the completion of the ARM development has unlocked the ability for Behringer now to bring a number of synths to market. We know they're working on a Wave synth, we know they're working on the Jupiter 8 synth, we know they're working on a sequential synth. Now, all these things are in the offing. Quite when these things are going to land, I mean, people keep bouncing on about, you know, Behringer can't deliver things. Well, I think, personally, I think if they delivered everything in one hit, they'd run out, you know, products, everybody would run out, buy the products, and then they wouldn't have a sales stream. So I think, you know, these things are kind of being fed through the R&D, user testing, release cycle, so that at least people have enough time between releases to save up for the next one. Now, as I've always said, you know, I always stand to be corrected. If I got something wrong, I will come on camera and say I got it wrong. And, you know, somebody who's more in the know about some things, I'm quite happy to be corrected. And I do not have the desire, tempted as I may be, to actually open my UB-X. This is my UB-XA. I do not have the desire to actually crack the back of that open at the moment, because nothing wrong with it, and my policy is I only go inside synthesizers when there's something wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with that one, so I am basically not going to crack it open and find out whether I'm right or wrong at the moment. I'm just going to stick with the statements that Behringer have made on their various feeds.